Thank you, Tom. It's a rule that conference planning moves more slowly than tectonic plates. And while Haiti was one of the news hooks for our get-together today, we are reminded by the U.S. Geological Survey there have been about 24 earthquakes of magnitude 7 or more since the January 2010 quake in Haiti. Just 1 month ago Monday, northeastern Japan, of course, suffered that triple disaster, 9.0 earthquake, tsunami, and then the nuclear threat that followed, the emergency there. Boston University astronomy professor Michael Mendillo was in Sendai, Japan, the heart of this disaster. And to sort of bridge the two events, we've asked Professor Mendillo to come and spend a little time with us this morning. Where were you on the afternoon of March 11th when this happened?
I was at Sendai Airport, having just completed a 4-day meeting dealing with the planets of the solar system in a international meeting hosted by the Japanese at Tohoku University. And so the meeting ended at noontime. I had a leisurely train ride out to the airport, checked my bag at 2 o'clock, bought a cup of coffee, and sat on the balcony of the 3rd level, sipping that coffee and working on a paper about Mars on my computer when the whole terminal started shaking at 2:46.
What did you do?
Surprisingly, I did an orderly shutdown of my computer, and that took about 30 seconds. We had had a 7.2 earthquake during the meeting, and I was shocked that no one was concerned about it other than myself. And so these aftershocks go on, and people think that they're routine. This one felt a little stronger, and so I looked for a place to protect myself in this gigantic atrium, and I saw these 2 wall boards being used to announce where a children's museum was. And so I leaned them against the rail and climbed underneath. And that all took maybe from the beginning of putting my coffee away to getting under that terminal, under that thing, about 45 seconds.
We all have seen the pictures of the tsunami wave sweeping through the airport in Sendai. Were you warned? How did you know that was coming? What did you do?
When the earthquake, which was, for me personally, the most terrifying part, when that finally ended, we were told, I was the only American there out of 1,400, so I had no communication skills. But when everyone starts walking down the stairs from the 3rd floor and going outside, it seems wise to go along with them. So we went outside and waited in the parking lot. And then various people were getting on their cell phones that a tsunami was coming. A European who could speak some English came over and told me to go inside, that it was anticipated that in 30 minutes a tsunami would come by. We were only 2 miles from the sea, and that we should go up to the 3rd floor, which we all did.
Was there panic?
No panic whatsoever. None whatsoever. Very, in fact, quiet, eerily quiet, as 1,400 people climbed up. 500 employees of the airport, and the rest were passengers.
You're on the 3rd level of the airport. What did you see? What did you hear?
It's a modern airport, you might be seeing, it's all covered in glass. And so we simply got against the rail of the 3rd. The 3rd floor was only half a floor, looking down on the 2nd floor. And we could see the ocean 2 miles away. And you could see this big white ripple on the ocean, which was the tsunami coming. And then it turned brown when it encountered the land. And then in a few minutes, all of the cars and trees and houses that you saw floating by simply came by, and it was in absolute silence. Think about it, a modern airport has wonderful acoustic shielding from the planes going off outside. We did not hear a thing, but just watched the cars and the houses and the trucks and trees go by, and a few oohs and ahs from the people standing there, but mostly in silence, clicking away at cameras, as you're seeing here, well, earlier.
What did you see on the faces of the people around you?
Probably what was on my face, sort of just absolute shock, a little bit of terror. The people I saw during the earthquake, we were obviously much more using of that word terrorized. It's probably the only time I've ever described it myself, but it was pretty scary. The shaking went on for about 5 minutes, and I think it was 2 or 3 inches vertically for 5 minutes, which is just unbelievable. The terror during the tsunami was far less noticeable than during the earthquake.
How long were you at the airport before you got out?
Oh, a little over 2 days. All electricity went out, all heating went out, all water and bathrooms. But it was a designated shelter, so there was plenty of packaged food and apple juice and water to drink. And so we were there for about 2 days when the mayor of a nearby town sent a bus once the water had subsided with food. And anyone who wanted to get on that bus and go back to this little town was offered the ride. In a typical Japanese style, senior citizens were given first option. So I got on the bus and left.
And that was the first responder you saw in this?
Yes. They allowed local people about an hour before that to walk home. And so about 300 or 400 people were walking down the tarmac around all the trees and the pieces of houses and machinery that were there. And then the bus that finally took us had to do the same trip.
You encounter any reporters?
Not a one that I knew of, yes.
Hard to get to.
Yes. We saw helicopters flying up above, and so we assumed we were on TV or being watched. But no one actually came and interviewed us or anything.
You deal with the cosmos in your academic work. Any cosmos lessons here for us?
Well, the Earth is a pretty big place, and so affecting the entire globe is surprising to an astronomer. We know that if you redistribute the mass of a planet or moon, it responds in its rotation rate. It's just like an ice skater, moving arms in or out. You speed up or you go away, depending on the redistribution of your mass. The earthquake redistributed the mass slightly of the Earth, mostly on the Asian side. And so we know of the spin axis of the Earth, but that's not the center of mass axis. The center of mass axis is about 30 feet away up at the North Pole. And that axis got changed by, I think, about 8 feet. It moved. So the Earth wobbles a slightly different way than it did a month ago.
And finally, is there any freeze frame from this? Any face, any moment, any picture that will live with you forever?
At the end of the process, seeing my wife and children at Logan Airport is an image that I cherished. Hearing a good old New England accent when I talked to her 3 days later. It was 3 days worrying about that. So that visual, that audio sound stays with me. When I just said, Carol Marie, I didn't have to introduce myself. And she said, Michael, I knew you'd call. So that's the audio clip. The visual one is probably seeing houses and pieces of houses in the parking lot afterwards. They weren't there when I entered the airport. And to see the trees and the houses and the cars upside down and just the devastation was surprising. Opposite from Haiti or Christchurch, no buildings fell down. I didn't see a toppled building anywhere in the next 4 days, in any city, even in Sendai, even near the airport.
Strict building codes
really,
in Japan?
A testament to their architectural talents in building earthquake-proof buildings, and tsunami-proof buildings in my case. So the terror on people's faces during the earthquake itself, and then seeing the debris outside, and then driving through it for miles, because the tsunami went about 6 or 7 more miles beyond the airport. And that 6 miles in stunned silence in the bus was sort of an enduring image.
An eyewitness to disaster, Dr. Michael Mendillo with us today. Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.